Alrighty, Chris Steele and Cameron Dunn here with Live Sail Die at the conclusion of day one of the Prada Cup finals. Really interesting day out on the water cam, light airs to start with, and then the breeze sort of built in a perfect sort of sea breeze direction northeast, around 15 knots.
He probably didn't quite build quick enough for half the audience out there if you're a INEOS Team UK fan. But that first race, I guess it was always the fear that we'd have a race like that where a boat didn't get on the foils, and it was a bit of a non-event really in the end of the day. One big mistake there and race is done.
Yeah, well, just on that, I was sort of thinking about it and watching it obviously closely. There's a lot of question marks about the British boat and its performance in that sort of lighter airs, and the thing that I found really interesting was the range in which it seemed to sort of struggle. It's still around that sort of 6 to 8 knot mark, but it definitely looks like when it was sort of 8 or 9 knots, they had no problems, staying on the foils and getting up out of the water. And so, to my eye, it looks like the range in which that boat sort of has its sort of upper sort of to get onto the foils was definitely lower. And so that's definitely improvement on that part. But yeah, still.
Yeah, I think it's improved a lot. Certainly from pre-Christmas. God, that's out of this world different. But it's little micro differences, and as we saw, Luna Rossa almost came off the foils. They were just hanging on there at that 18 knot range, but that was enough to get them a comfortable win and start off with a good bit of confidence.
Yeah, I mean, so that was obviously the big talking point is the end of race one. It's the first race the Brits have lost in the whole sort of series, which is impressive to say the least. Yep. And how were they going to bounce back from that? And Ainsley, I guess, did exactly what we thought he would be. He's a little bit more aggressive in the pre-start. Got a nice sort of tight lured start there on the Italians, and I was surprised that the Italians were able to sort of hang in there for that long, and they looked like the boat was going quite well. Yep. And that was pretty much as close as the race got. From that point, the Italians broke right, picked up a bit of a right-hand shift with a bit of pressure, and maybe the only other thing you could say is it looks like the British boat is tacking through a wider angle upwind, so they might be losing a bit more overall distance there.
Yeah, I thought again this it was a good start from both boats really. It looked like Luna Rossa were pretty happy to have the right. And INEOS had to make the decision on when to go. You're going to go a little bit earlier rather than later in their situation, but they did a nice job of getting a tight enough lured start and getting rid of Luna Rossa, as you say. But Luna Rossa, to me, they just look like they've got that little bit of edge upwind where they're just slowly eking away, and from then on it was pretty tough in INEOS. It just looked like one of those races where you're just that tiniest smidgen off the pace, and if the guy in front doesn't make any mistakes, like we haven't seen Luna Rossa make a mistake in quite a few races now, they're a really tough boat to beat today.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to point out is obviously the direction of the breeze was a lot more stable out there. I mean, we've seen the Brits come from behind plenty of times, and we've seen them, lead from the front. And boat speed's obviously been there for them for the most part, but they've been very accurate with their, strategy and race tactics around the course. Obviously today, with it being a lot more stable, that wasn't probably the opportunity. There weren't the opportunities there that they probably would have liked to have, with the breeze changing and the shifts coming down the course. So I think for sure they'd probably prefer to race in that sort of southwesterly direction in the harbour here. But I mean, pretty telling. The Italian boat has improved a lot in that sort of mid-range.
For sure.
And the question was for me is, how much have they improved? We know that's sort of the British sort of forte, that sweet spot around that 15 sort of knot mark, and the Italians have gotten better. But I mean, today it looked like they might have even had a click of boat speed their way. So
yeah, I really think they do.
Big turnaround.
I really think they do have a little bit of a speed edge there. Obviously, the leading boat gets to go where they want, but they did nice manoeuvres. I think, as you say, their tacks did look maybe that little bit better as well. And the upwind starts, if you can control those first kind of intersections, the other guys sort of feeding off what you give them, and they did really nicely from there. So obviously INEOS will go ahead. Ben Ainsley's not, he's been around the block a couple of times. They'll be back there debriefing, figuring out, he knows they need to go faster than that. We all know as tacticians that, a faster boat makes your life very easy. Yeah. But the fastest boat will always win a 7-race, best of 7 series. So, if you're as click off the pace, doesn't matter how well you sail, at the end of the day, it's going to be a tough ask.
Yeah, well, I guess that takes us into tomorrow. So, similar wind direction. It's going to be maybe a little bit more, hopefully, so maybe 11 to sort of 18 knots.
Yeah, I think it'd be, and maybe inside.
Yeah.
You know, course C, there will be some shifts involved.
I'll be interested to see, you know, how the British boat sets up, because obviously the forecast today was light to maybe slightly better. You know, we're expecting only sort of 10, 11 knots, and we saw up to sort of 17 knots out there. So I wonder if maybe the flap selection or the way that the boat was set up might have been really sort of moded to that first race, the lighter airs, expecting it to be like that throughout the day. We'll only know when they line up tomorrow, but no doubt they'll come off the water with plenty of ideas to try and, you know, get that little bit of boat speed back, the edge that they've had, and then tactically it'll be, you know, very solid to watch again.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, you know, because today the forecast was not to build that much, and it came in quickly for that second race. Tomorrow it's looking like it's going to be a 15 to 18 knot day. You know, it's been looking like that for a few days, so, you know, they'll be moded, probably more sweet spot for that for tomorrow. Yeah, let's hope for some really tight racing.
Nice. All right, well, from everyone here at Live Sail Die, on behalf of Cam and myself, big thanks to all our sponsors and supporters, and we look forward to bringing you more coverage here tomorrow on day 2 of the Prada Cup finals.
Thanks, everyone.